VigilanteWilliamson here with a very simple question, and that's what in the world happened with Shaddeur Sanders? My last video was about where he got drafted, or where would he get drafted. It was done about a week ago, and we got the answer. It was the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns, the same team that had the 2nd pick, which Pepperidge Farm remembers when he was mocked to the 2nd pick just a few short months ago. But something happened at these meetings, as all the bots keep reminding me without having any stories or evidence as to what the fuck happened, which I'll get into in a second. I'll even get into Cleveland trading down and the relevance of that. And he did not get drafted the first 4 rounds. He got drafted in the 5th round. Before getting into all this, unpacking all this, getting at the bots, getting at the criticism, let's humble ourselves. That's the story of the day, or the concept of the day. Remember Derek Harmon? Shout out to Derek Harmon, who got drafted 21st overall, a pick that a lot of people thought Shaddeur Sanders would get. He lost his mom the same day he got drafted. His mom was on life support. She was able to find out her son got drafted by the Steelers, and then she passed on. And that's the humbling thing. Like, oh yeah, this is all a game. No matter what you feel about whoever, this is all a game. Real life is still real. Rest in peace to Mama Harmon. Her name was Tiffany Sane. And shout out to Derek Harmon's family and the Sane family. I wish you guys all the best. I wish you guys amazing blessings in this tough time. Rest in peace. Sorry that this man lost his mom on what would have otherwise been the most joyous day of his life. Shout out to his mom to at least being able to see him get drafted. So let's humble ourselves. I know everyone's whatever up in arms. Real life is real. Life is real, and we can forget that sometimes. So going back to Shaddeur and the bots. I myself didn't have the highest grade on Shaddeur. I think a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, somebody asked me about him. I'm like, he might be a little bit overrated. In the video I did last week, I put highlights up as kind of just a visual backdrop. And there's some throws where you say, man, if you had a better arm, that's a touchdown instead of just a completion. And if you throw that the wrong way, it's a pick 6 in the league. So he had some physical issues, but boy, I did not think he was a 3rd or 4th or 5th rounder, maybe 2nd rounder. And just judging how teams always grasp for quarterbacks, I thought him and multiple quarterbacks were going to be gone in the 1st round, because that's what typically happens, right? And I was proven wrong. I would have bet the over of 2.5 quarterbacks, and I would have been wrong, because I think that was the over for the 1st round, 2.5. And then, with some of the quarterbacks I can understand. You look at a Jalen Milroe, even though he's much rawer, he's got an arm and he's fast. Shout out to the Houston area. He's in the Houston area, or from the Houston area. And then you can look at same thing with Shaddeur, who the Giants drafted. They had more physical tools than Shaddeur. You can say, okay, even if they weren't the college player that Shaddeur was, they had more physical tools. They're better athletes. You can just eyeball that shit. So these are all understandable things, but again, not a 2nd round grade. Now, shout out to Mr. Truth, a channel I like. He 7 months ago, when everybody had Shaddeur as the top pick back then, Pepperidge Farm remembers that as well. He said Shaddeur had a 5th round grade. I like Mr. Truth. I have no criticism of him or his grade, because he's consistent, and if he's wrong about a quarterback or wrong about something, he'll actually admit it and make, he has videos about Bryce in Carolina, and some videos are positive, some are negative. He just calls it how I see it, and I respect that. That's what the internet's for. It's for people who have thoughts outside the mainstream to express them, and shout out to people like that. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's not my criticism. The criticism is the comment you keep seeing, he has bad character issues. And then you ask the question, well, what did he do? He interviewed poorly. He didn't work out. You mean how, like, most top players don't work out at the combine? And that's become like a meme. How many players didn't work out at the combine? Character issues. What happened there? And I hate to do this to this guy, because these are both just allegations. I don't want to give too much credence in case they're false, but there's a guy named Mike Green, somebody I thought about the Lions potentially picking up at edge. He got drafted in the 2nd round. He went to a small school, first off, went to Marshall, and he has 2 different incidents of sexual assault alleged. One in high school, another at his former college of Virginia, and he still got drafted. So those are what's a worse character issue? Potentially assaulting women in that way, or being hard to deal with, being a confident quarterback. That's unreal. So, like, again, if you didn't like him, if you just say, you know what, he just isn't that good, I can't argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you. I don't know how to evaluate quarterbacks any better than Mel Kiper. I'm just a guy on the internet talking shit. But this bot response of just ESPN said this, I don't have inner monologue, I'm going to outsource my thinking to ESPN and just repeat it. By the way, all the experts on draft analysis who don't know what happened in these interviews, have no stories to tell about these interviews, but are using these interviews to tell you that Shaddeur has a bad character. What about the interview with the Steelers that went 5 hours and everything went well? You don't even know about that, do you? You have no clue because you're a bot. That's what scares me more about this story than anything. I'm a Lions fan. I can give a fuck what happens. And football is a fucking game. It's rigged. Who gives a shit, right? But it's that bot mindset. That's what's scary about today. People don't think for themselves. People don't generate opinions for themselves. Shaddeur listen, the fucking draft is a parlay. Shaddeur may be he can't be a bust at a 5th round pick now. He may not pan out. That's fine. You may think he might not pan out. That's fine. But if you don't have a reason to, are you thinking for yourself? Really? If you're just saying he has bad character issues, what did he do? I don't know. And by the way, Eli Manning wanted to dictate where he wanted to go, because that's what it sounds like. If he interviewed well with the Steelers and not other teams, he probably didn't want to go to those other teams and did want to go to the Steelers, which that's another can of worm for them. By the way, if you think, you don't like his character issues, they're going after Aaron Rodgers, who is so toxic, literally no one else in the league wants him. What did Shaddeur do that Eli Manning didn't do a while ago, that John Elway back in the day didn't do, that even in basketball Charles Barkley didn't do? He didn't want to get drafted by the Sixers. He tried to sabotage his draft situation so he can go to another team. This is not the first guy to try to dictate where he got drafted. That happens. We'll get into it later. This is kind of an editor's note, but I get that there's a lot of talk about, well, I don't want his father interfering. His father has a full-time job. His father is a full-time coach in Colorado, and you can argue how good or bad. We're about to find out how good or bad he is as a coach, because that whole class that he's written, Paul, since high school is now into the NFL. So we'll see how good of a coach he is. But his father has a full-time job. He can't interfere like a LeVar Ball. That's not going to happen. He has to be the coach of Colorado. Now, again, we'll get into it, that maybe that's the fear, that he may take a coach's job. And I'm sure that's more logical than anything. But no one's saying that. It's just his character issues are bad. I don't know why they are. ESPN told me, so I just repeat what ESPN did. It's like, that's so fucking Neanderthal. It's so fucking like, I know you're not supposed to say that word. I'm sorry, YouTube. But like, think for yourself. You can there's a bunch of opinions that you can have. I don't care about Shaddeur like that. I wish him the best, but there's a bunch of opinions that you can have that show valid human thought. There's just this non-inner monologue repeating human bot. His character issues bad. Well, what happened? I don't know. Character issues bad, say ESPN. It's like, what the fuck? Mindless. And this is definitely an anti-Nepo baby situation. I say the same thing about Eli Manning, where that last name is an albatross. People say the statement, well, if they had if that was Eli Smith, or if that was Shaddeur Smith, but in both cases, they will be rated better. That was Eli Smith. You realize, oh man, his career is almost Brett Favre's. And this was Shaddeur Smith. You're like, oh man, he's actually one of the best quarterbacks in Colorado history. I know that's another thing that got a lot of heat. The fact that he got his number retired. I thought that was stupid too. I thought that was, don't get me wrong. I thought that was lame as fuck. Retired this guy's number, and he ain't even been in the league yet. So yeah, I get how Deion rubbed people the wrong way. We'll get into Deion. I know it's been 6 minutes. We got a lot to talk about. I get that too, but somebody would say, oh, he has to break records at Colorado first. He has a single season passing record and a single game passing record. So he has actually broken records at Colorado. He is actually one of the best quarterbacks to ever play at Colorado. That's not opinion, that's objective. You can look at the stats and see that. So, shout out to Cordell Stewart, by the way. He might be one of the best, or the best for us old heads. But Shaddeur put up pretty good numbers. That's nothing. He put up really good numbers, honestly, especially for how bad that offensive line is. So I thought he was a second round pick, at least. And more likely, I thought he was a first round pick. I thought he was going to be a first round pick. Every grade I had, even the most negative, was second round. So, we got to get to the drop. Why did he drop? Is it racism? Well, no. I just mentioned Mike Green. That guy's black, you know what I mean? And people still drafted him despite questions, a lot of question marks. Draft. I mean, you hear a lot of things, and I got to get off the Instagram comments because I keep seeing things that are mind numbing. Well, he has all this jewelry and he's arrogant. You mean like everybody in the first round? What are you talking about? Just say he's not good enough. Just say, you know what? He's not a good athlete and his dad's annoying. That's the answer. Well, there's one other thing with his dad we'll get to. So, I definitely think a collusion-esque thing happened. I definitely think teams either had a silent agreement, was understood, doesn't have to be said, or some sort of collusion to say, you know, we're not going to draft this fucker in the first few rounds. I definitely think they wanted to quote unquote send a message. On top of that, and this is why you come here to Vigilante Williamson. This is the thing that I've not heard anyone say. I'm 8 minutes in, should have started this at the beginning of the video. Maybe I'll clip it out for the shorts and all that. Why would you hire your replacement? Again, keep talking about Dion. A lot of people think he's brash. He's a man in a dress. This whole thing could be a humiliation ritual for the elites. All that notwithstanding, he's also a head coach. And as a head coach, we've heard a lot of fan bases, including guys in Dallas. Oh man, draft Shaddeur, and then maybe his dad will come coach us in a couple years. So if you are Kevin Stefanski and you have the second pick, and now you hear, oh, we're putting the fix in, you're like, cool, because now I can draft players I want and draft this guy with a pick that otherwise I would have thrown away. All respect to Dillon Gabriel, who we'll get to shortly before this ends. But look how much more leverage you have as opposed to him being a first round pick. Let's say no matter where Shaddeur is drafted, he's going to be good. I don't know what's going to happen because he can still be shitty. After all this shit, he can still be shitty. But let's say he's going to be good. If he's a first round pick and he's good, well, he can get you replaced after year one because he's a first round pick and they already invested into him as their quarterback is the future. So if he says, you know what, I like Kevin, but it was better when I had my dad as my coach. Maybe the owner listens. Maybe the fucking fan base feels that way. Like I said, Dallas fans already were talking about stuff like that because they don't really like their head coach. That's another can of worms. Dallas is a mess. But you might be hiring your replacement by hiring Shaddeur. If you draft him as a first round guy, now he gets a little bit more clout in the organization, and now maybe he can get you replaced. Or even if he doesn't, maybe the fans call for it. And that's something you don't want. Now, as a fifth round pick, now granted, it can still happen. Still could happen. But at best, the time frame is delayed because as a fifth round pick, even if he has a good year, he's not going to quite have the same clout that he would as a first round pick. He'll need to get to at least that second contract to get that sort of clout or close to it. And I mentioned Dillon Gabriel. Now there's a quarterback room he has to compete with. I thought maybe Shaddeur was better than Dillon Gabriel, but I like Dillon Gabriel. Just like I like Will Howard, the guy that the Steelers ended up drafting. I don't dislike these quarterbacks. I like winner quarterbacks in college who, yeah, they have a lot of talent around them, but they still play pretty well. I like those type of guys. And in any event, Shaddeur has to compete with people. I know some people are making fun of the Browns for having drafted two quarterbacks. Sometimes you gotta throw something at this situation out. There's another question of whether the owner wanted Shaddeur more than the coaching staff and the GM staff, and that may have been the case. But at the same time, like, sometimes you got to throw multiple shots at this. We saw with Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins just last year. It was like, oh, what are they doing? Kirk Cousins gets hurt. Now you know Michael Penix is your starter. You had the year, it wasn't quite right the same year, right, where you had Trey Lance, and then the next year you draft Brock Purdy. You also had, what was I thinking about? Oh, yeah, back with Russell Wilson, they had people, was it Mike Flynn, something like that. He had played for Green Bay, had a couple of good games, and a lot of people hyped him up, and he was a free agent. And then you also draft Russell Wilson, and then Kirk Cousins got drafted the same year as RG3. Sometimes when your quarterback situation is as dire as Cleveland's, when they have that jersey with like 30, 40 names, you got to throw something at it. So between Dillon Gabriel, between Shaddeur Sanders, between Joe Flacco, somebody's got to be that fucking starting quarterback. And honestly, I like it. I like the idea of saying, listen, we cannot keep moving on with our quarterback just being a mess. Obviously, they should have kept Baker Mayfield. That would have been the best idea, but they didn't. So they have to do something. They absolutely have to do something. Otherwise, he's just a 5th round pick at the end of the day. No matter where you thought he should have been, he's just a 5th round pick. So I think all the, bullshit aside, all the bots aside, the fact that a lot of coaches said, wait a second, if I draft him in the first, even the 2nd round maybe, because it's not like we haven't had 2nd round guys. Shit, we've had Mr. Irrelevant guys. Brock Purdy's going to make $50 million a year. Tom Brady was best quarterback ever, or a lot of people's best quarterback ever, 6th round, but 2nd round still gets taken a little bit more seriously. So if he was a top round quarterback, you might be hiring your replacement. I think that's the hidden reason. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't want Deion to interfere, but how much can Deion interfere? He, again, is a head coach of a major organization. You know what I mean? He's got a lot on his plate. He can't really baby Shaddeur unless he's going to be the coach. So is that a real concern? Like, what is that based off? I know the bots at ESPN told you how to think, and you're not capable of just saying, you know what, I don't like him, he's a Nepo baby. That's an acceptable answer. You ain't gotta like everybody. And again, Shaddeur ain't paying me. I don't give a fuck. Wish him the best. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. But these bot answers are so scary, bro. And I think this is why I get shit on my channel. I'm about to end the video. I don't watch ESPN. I haven't watched it in years. So when I talk about sports, I come off like I'm a contrarian because my opinion is not based on the mainstream shit. I just don't watch. I don't give a fuck. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people like me who don't watch ESPN, get their opinion on the internet. Thank you for being here. But there's a lot of people who just outsource their thinking to media, and it's not just a sports issue. We see it on both sides of the political aisle. They just outsource their thinking to whatever the policy makers in their party say. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's not what this channel's built on. I am not a natural contrarian either. I'm just a guy who calls things how I see it. Sometimes it's in line with people and popular opinion. Like, hey, I think Sinners is a good movie, and I should probably do a review on that. Sometimes it's not. So I don't know. I wish Shaddeur the best. I hope he's a good quarterback for the Browns. The Cleveland Browns definitely need it. I'm sure a lot of NFL fans at least have heard about all the different quarterbacks they've had since their reboot in the late 90s. I think it was 99. Had 20, 30 quarterbacks. There's the jersey with all the different quarterbacks. And now Shaddeur Sanders' name potentially will be on that jersey. We'll see. He does have to win out in camp. Again, shout out Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco. Don't be a bot. Think for yourself. You don't have to like Shaddeur. Like I said, I thought he was maybe a little bit overrated myself. I didn't think he was 5th round overrated. I think that's a stretch. I do think the NFL colluded. Don't get me wrong. I do think the NFL made some sort of collusionary thing. I do think, I didn't really push the race card because I didn't think that's necessarily the reason he got drafted low, because so many black people and black quarterbacks and everything got drafted above. But I do think some of the fans and some of that fan reaction, they don't want to see an uppity Negro. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't speak bot. But what do you think about this whole Shaddeur Sanders thing? Do you think he needed to be quote unquote humbled? And if so, why? What did he do? What did he do? That's the question I want to ask. If you don't like him as a player, cool. If you think he's overrated as a player, cool. You think he held on the ball too much, cool. These are fair assessments, and these are understandable and reasonable reasons to maybe not want to draft him. If you think his dad may be too much, that's cool. But if you say he has a bad character or he's too cocky, what happened? And if it's just going off of ESPN reports, how do you know those reports are true? You know what I'm saying? Because they're not telling you what is said. They're not saying this conversation happened and he said this and he said. They're just saying, well, the rumors are. It's a rumor of a rumor. What actually happened? If there's no concrete evidence, you can't just say somebody's bad. What happened? They were bad. What did they do? What did he say? I know he didn't work out. You can say, oh, well, he didn't work out. But a lot of players don't work out. What are you talking about? Tons of players who were drafted over the course of all rounds did not work out. Why is him not working out so special and different? Please, again, if you just don't like him as a player, he just pisses you off, his father pisses you off, that's a more acceptable answer than he has character issues and you don't know what the fuck they are. That makes no fucking sense. Don't be a bot. I'm imploring you to try to have an inner monologue, y'all. Please, I'm begging you. Okay. Absolute final fucking note final fucking thing. I'm done with this video. I've been working on this video for damn near 2 days. In any event, I had to bring up that Cleveland had the chance to draft Shaddeur and Travis Hunter and bring that Colorado thing into Cleveland. Not saying they should have, because again, going back to what I said, that would have put Kevin Stefanski's job on a hot seat, especially having both of those players there. So that's the hidden reason. A lot of people are going to say, okay, Deion's bluster or whatever, but he has a full-time job. You know what I mean? It's the idea that he might take the coach's job. That and the NFL just wanted, I don't know, wanted to be the NFL. Who knows? Sports News could use the, remember, this is rigged. This is a storyline. This is WWE. Whether you believe it to be or not, that's a whole other can of worms. The ratings, the money, everything, that's real. But yeah, there's some bullshit. Could the league just did it just to not just quote unquote prove something to Shaddeur or teach him a lesson, but to get a story going. So now there's this sub story of the draft. Now you got a sub story in Shaddeur Sanders as a player. If he doesn't pan out, well, you were right. If he does pan out, now you got something to talk shit about every fucking week. It's those sort of things that people don't really realize does happen in NFL, NBA, every other sport, because you think it's all. You think but you have no idea. Yes, it is WWE. Okay, so I've given everything I had. That's every fucking potential theory that could possibly be that I could think of, and every fucking detail I could think of the Shaddeur Sanders thing, which you probably already watched thousands of videos of and is sick of the shit as I am too. But whatever. Thank you for watching. Peace.